About the God spark in us. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want you to know this. You weren't, and I don't even want to say it. I don't even saying it's so goofy. You are born pure of spirit. You entered a physical body, and then guess what? You were manipulated, not God-ulated. Okay? You know what, guys? I don't even want to do this anymore. I'm getting really annoyed with it. You all walk around with a story of this God. Most of you, your God should have a straight jacket and be on Prozac 24/7. I'm done. Okay, let's talk about therapeutic vomiting. That's it. Yeah, most of your God that you see in your head would probably give you therapeutic vomiting. Okay, do you have a question? Can we make sure that everything is turned on, please?
Hello.
Thank
Hello.
you.
So some 15 years back, I had a polyp on my bladder.
You had a polyp, which is actually a little wart on her bladder 15 years ago?
Some 15 years ago.
Okay, we have to be clear because it sounded like 50 years ago. Okay? Wow.
And they removed it. And since then, I would say gradually over the years, and I had 2 vaginal births, my peeing is off the charts. I'm peeing all the time, and even
No, all we got to do is I'll go in there and work on her bladder for 15, 20 minutes, it's over.
Okay.
Okay, when they went in and okay, so you do know that you get polyps because of lack of surgery. You do know that you get cancer from lack of chemotherapy, which is mustard gas. So we all should be taking in mustard gas every day so that we don't get cancer. Okay? And you do know that we get cancer through lack of radiation, but don't worry, most of the population out there, do you know what teenagers do when they put something in the microwave? They stand there and look in the microwave to see when it's going to be ready. Now, all you intelligent parents, take your cell phone and put it in the microwave, shut the microwave, and then I want you to walk 30 feet away and see if your phone rings. That means your whole family's having a radiation treatment 30 feet away. When your kid is right this close, they are radiating their eyes, and the eyes pick up frequency and light, which means they're frying their brain. So now that you got the snip to cut off the polyp, it's got this beef jerky scar tissue, which is this little block that's going to grow roots on it, and it's going to irritate the bladder for the rest of her life. Okay. We do not need 99% of all medical. We only have 1% of our life or less is needed for emergency care. They're in the emergency care business. If you want to use emergency care 911 therapy, your whole family's going to be in trouble. I'm not against them. Why would you do something like that? Let's talk about therapeutic vomiting.
Thank you.
Sharon, take it away. Because she's the queen of vomit. No.
Yeah. So let's clarify this right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's not puking, it's vomiting.
That's right. And it's therapeutic,
Yes.
and it's not bulimic.
That's right.
So let's make that perfectly clear. And if you want to become a bulimic, don't do therapeutic vomiting because you're swallowing all this emotional garbage. So what you do is then you go and you eat a lot of food to make yourself sick, to try to get rid of the frequency of the negativity that you've been swallowing. I got something caught in my throat, okay? You make me sick to my stomach. I'm sick to my stomach. My stomach is in knots, okay?
And that entrapment of that emotion goes into the tissues, into the mucus lining of the stomach itself. So it's
Can you
not,
have her a little louder, please?
It's not about puking. It's not about emptying the contents of your stomach. It's about emptying the toxic emotions that have been trapped in there.
And when you do therapeutic vomiting, you're not doing therapeutic vomiting when you have food in your stomach.
No.
You're doing therapeutic vomiting when your stomach is empty, because you're after the invisible, you're after the issues in your tissues, which is all the BS you have to swallow, belief systems, from school, from
relationships,
and even from religion, okay, from politics. All of this stuff is, most of it's just not real. And it's just there to make you sick, because you got to remember, at the end of the day, it's the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, it's Bill Gates, it's all these other guys, and they signed an agreement that they were going to poison the majority of the population. And when they signed that agreement, you may not believe this. Why don't you do some research? Bill Gates is allowed to keep 60% of his money, and 40% of it he has to use to poison the planet. That's the deal. I don't want to get into it. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. So the reality is this: welcome to a life-threatening game, and understand something. Do not swallow their BS anymore. When you feel sick to your stomach, don't eat to suppress things, okay? Don't eat to suppress things. Sharon, why don't you tell them the story of me and you and therapeutic vomiting? It's mainly you. It's just me telling her that you need to do it, because you're invisibly throwing up on everyone.
well, you know, Daryl's really good at stirring the pot, right? And so, you know, we do so much emotional eating and emotional traumas to ourselves, and it gets stored into that stomach. So Daryl, as he's stirring the pot and pushing me to the edge, and almost, you know, letting me look over, and then back I go again, and
As soon
you know,
as
it
she
used
starts
be-
to feel safe, I come for her.
Yes. And you know, quite a few times, let me tell you, he'd be like, look at your face. And we'd be in a staff meeting, and he would just like push me. And of course, you know, the whole thing about the face, because my whole face peeled off so many times, because of course, we put our best face forward. So all that emotion sticks within the face. And so of course, I was really good at making faces, because I wasn't quite facing what I needed to get rid of.
Can I share this? All right? Here's the old Sharon face if I said something or somebody else did something and it didn't match her beliefs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, I do it back to her.
Yeah. So I feel that it was probably about a year into the protocols and the programs and the teachings of Daryl Wolf, and I went.
No. Can't keep saying my name. Our teachings.
Yes, our teachings.
Our teachings.
Our teachings.
Every one of you.
Yes.
They're your teachings. We are just uncovering the ancient teachings that we all knew and we all know.
The
You know,
honorable teachings.
I'm going to go very lightly with this. We're doing a new website. My God, they put light coming off my head. My God, I'm on every course and training, which I don't do. Enough of me. That would make anybody want to throw up. Okay, go ahead.
You'll have to put your Teslas on to look at your website.
Got to change this frequency, baby.
So I went to this, you know, into all this protocols and strategies. I went to this goddess weekend, and of course it stirred up a lot of feminine
Goddess
emotions.
weekend when? Can you kind of put timelines?
Yeah, it
So I
was-
want to show people
yeah.
that it's not going to happen overnight. That you learn
Yeah.
to be patient, or you'll remain a patient forever. Okay, go
It
ahead.
was a year and a half ago. It was in August of 2021. Yeah, so 2023? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've had a year time warp here. But anyways, in August of 2021, I went to this goddess retreat weekend, and I'd never been to anything like that because I never honored my feminine spirit. And it was, I never really had a connection with other women that actually were going on that path.
Because women are taught to be jealous and attack each other,
Yes.
because we want to make sure the feminine power never has reigning power over this planet again like it did 5,000 years ago. Go ahead.
And in all honesty, because I was born into a jealous situation with my sister and my mother, that I had trust issues as far as women, and so I didn't attract that. But I was working through this, and so it was coming to me, and that was really beautiful. So I went on this, and it felt kind of uncomfortable, but of course that is how we grow. As soon as we feel uncomfortable.
And you can't trust women.
That's right. And so I went to this goddess weekend.
Aren't we taught that? You can't trust a woman?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, go ahead.
Can't trust yourself. And so we ended up the very last day. The weekend was Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and I was staying until Monday because a really good friend of mine had held it, and it was on a beautiful island called Denman Island, just off of Vancouver Island, because that's where I live. And and so the very last day on the Sunday, and she had this beautiful tent set up, and we had singing bowls, and we had all kinds of tuning forks, and all energy and drumming, and I brought my trombone, and so we decided to do this. Well, Laura, who was hosting it, beautiful Laura, we decided to do this this exercise where we would all sit around drumming. There was probably about 8 or 10 women. And we were just drumming, and it was about the inner voice, about allowing yourself to speak out, suppression, right? So if we wanted to yell or scream or holler, whatever it was, so that we were supposed to get into our meditative state. And it wasn't too long into this drumming exercise that I started to
But she'd already been doing work on herself,
Yes.
so you need to get that. So
Yes.
she stirred her own pot.
That's right.
Okay.
And with the
It's
help
not my fault.
of yours truly. Yeah, so it was like, so these emotions were sitting there. And of course whenever so many of us have this issue, is that I would get like a knot in my stomach when something emotional was coming through my world. And there was a lot of it. And so as we were doing this drumming exercises, I started to like dry heave, like I was like heaving. And it was like, ugh. And I was like, ugh. And so I was drumming, and it just kept coming, but I knew I couldn't throw up. Because it wasn't about the fact that I could actually throw up, I was just heaving. And so right after the exercise was over, my girlfriend who was sitting beside me, Laura, she gave me a hug, and then I broke down, and she said, we need to go into the tent, where she had this beautiful scenario where there was a massage table set up, and the women started, drumming and chanting and circling me, and my stomach went, whoop, like I was 8 months pregnant. So I'm laying on this massage table, and it was like, I said to the girl standing, I said, feel my stomach, and honest to goodness, it was like it just 8 months pregnant. So it was trying to come out of me, this emotion, and I couldn't bring it out this way because...
Let's call it for what it is, and some people, don't take it wrong, this entity. Okay, let me tell you something. When you take on a belief that dishonors you, it becomes an entity. Remember something, whatever you feed gets bigger. Whatever emotion, whatever you thought that you feed gets bigger. What if you had a thought that ate away at you, but you kept feeding it, you kept focusing on it? Eventually it will eat you up, and we call that autoimmune disease, attacking oneself.
Yes. So the alien was trying to come out. Now, I couldn't, yeah, it was like a birthing process. So I couldn't get it out vaginally, and because I didn't have enough water in my system, I couldn't throw it up during the drumming circle. And so it was really just trying to just come out. And so it was like, okay. So we went through this process, it came down a bit, but I was sitting there with a lot of emotion that was just sitting there on the surface because it hadn't come out. The alien hasn't been exercised out of me. It needed to come out. And so for that, the remainder of that day, I felt really emotional. I felt really drained. And then the following day, I spent the night there. And the following day, I went home. And then the Tuesday, so this was Sunday, so then Monday. And on the Tuesday, we had a master training class. And this is how powerful these master training classes are.
A Zoom training, master training class, which you all get free every week
Yes.
for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So when you don't show up there, I'm not showing up for you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm deserting you, but you're not getting what you deserve.
Yes.
Go ahead, love.
And during this class, which was so powerful, Daryl held the class, and at the very end, I said I wanted to share my story about what happened on the weekend. And so I did share it, and Daryl said, you need to do therapeutic vomiting. And I was, therapeutic what? And as soon as he said it, then it was like, yeah, therapeutic what? He goes, yeah, therapeutic vomiting. And I'm like, yeah, I need to get this thing out of here because it's still sitting inside. And it was hurting and it was like achy and it was like all of these issues that were going on associated with the fact that I hadn't released it. And it had just kind of like recessed itself, but it was sitting there right on the surface. So it had gone back because my belly wasn't sitting out as 8 months anymore. It had flattened out, but it was
She
tender.
calmed herself down emotionally
Yeah.
and said, calm down, entity, go back and become an issue in the tissue, okay, and be quiet. Understand, you want to raise your vibration. Anything that raises the vibration is going to go and try to kick out anything that's lower vibrational. Don't you dare go to a powerful woman's circle with drumming and music and singing and think you're not going to stir up the issues in your tissues. Oh my God, Dr. Wolf, I just want to be free of this disease. Well, let me give you some high vibrational thoughts, drink, and nutraceuticals and ways that when we do stir it up, that we can go in and lock the toxins down so you don't have to suffer and get them out of your body and open up every portal hole, okay, so it can come out every hole, right? Whether it's your vagina, your rectum, okay, whether it's your pores, whether it's your eyes, whether it's your ears, whether it's your mouth.
Sinuses.
Sinuses. So the reality is that's what it's for. And that's why when you don't honor, you get to drip through your nose, you get to have ringing in your ears, you get to feel nauseous all the time that you want to throw up, you get constipated because you're holding on to your SHIT on an emotional level, okay, and then you get diarrhea, which is from holding on to your emotions so long that your body said, I need to give diarrhea here to get rid of your physical SHIT and your emotional SHIT, because every time you have diarrhea, you feel better, but you feel exhausted because your body had to use so much energy because you wouldn't use self-love and self-care.
Oh yeah. Before I ended up coming for the very first course, I had diarrhea for about 2 years. Yeah.
And I told her, you're going to have diarrhea until your face stops peeling off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, before we go into the therapeutic vomiting, tell them. So she's at the course, second course.
Second course, yeah.
Okay. And her face is looking just like a beautiful snake shedding. Okay, and it's kind of red and kind of like, she looks like maybe she could be 40 years older, but things are just going good.
Yeah, it was chafing.
Yeah.
And it was burning, and I'm like sitting there in the class. And it didn't matter what I put on it, I couldn't get the burn to go away because I was using the nebulizer and I was nebulizing my eyes and into my mouth, and it was pulling more of the toxins out of my face. So I kind of looked like a bit of like a clown with this.
You can't demand your authentic self and not get rid of your fake face.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me at break, okay, I'm tired of pretending, okay, and being a fake. I said, you weren't being a fake. You were just doing what your parents, your family, your friends wanted you to be, and because you're a good girl, I want to see some bad girl. I want to see where you honor and respect yourself and you stop trying to please everyone, because guess what? Listen to what happened to her face, and that's what would happen to your face.
So Daryl looks at me in the class, I think I was like second day in or something, he goes, what's the matter with your face? He said, no, he said, what's going on with your face?
Yeah, you would say that too. Okay?
Yeah. And it was like, oh
yeah. I don't even like horror movies.
So anyways, I was like, oh, you know, it's like, it's all chafed, and because of course all the toxins are coming out and it's chafing, and it seemed like whatever I put on it.
But
it
she
didn't
wasn't
help relieve
facing things.
It was trash.
When you don't face things,
It was trash.
you get a face off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he goes, well, you need to go and you need to clap your face.
And she's going, yeah, but it already hurts. And I go, you need to clap, okay, and you need to do it for 20 minutes. Didn't I say 20? Was it 20
I think
or
it was
half hour?
10 minutes on each side.
Each side, so that's 20 minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I
said,
get out the clapper and I go like this.
and she goes, well, how hard? And I said, I want you to clap it as hard as you can. Okay, what a whack job she is. She went and did it.
That's like competitive side, right? Oh yeah.
No,
It's
no,
like-
I did want her to do it.
He did.
But because I needed her to do it.
yes.
And I needed her not to think about it.
No, no, and I didn't.
Because what happened?
So I go
Daryl,
upstairs.
come up to stairs. You gotta come up to see her. Okay? She's losing it. I go up there and it's all this pus and blood all on her face, and I'm going, you did it. Congratulations. You popped that pimple called your face. Anyways, you
But
can
it
tell your
wasn't before a
story.
freak out. And so, you know, so anyway, so I'm like put my timer on because I'm doing this, man. I'm doing this, and I get in there, and before that I was a clapper wimp. So I, you know, did a little bit of clapping, nothing major. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing this, man. And so anyway, so timer on. 10 minutes on this side, the tears coming out, just like 10 minutes, just like bam, 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 and you know, but it was in a loving way. It was in a loving way. Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is it. You know, if somebody heard it, they'd go, okay, psycho.
And I had
She's
this
upstairs
beautiful
clapping herself and crying.
view. Yeah.
You know, you ever see those movies where the religious guy? Well, I know, but this, you'll let her tell the rest and then you'll understand something. It was the breakthrough.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
You tell your story, I'll be
So I
quiet.
had this beautiful view. It was in Kelowna on the deck, and I had this beautiful view, and I'm clapping, and I've got, you know, my timer on, and the tears are coming out. But you know, it was emotional, so emotional. It was not a physical thing, okay? So the physical was bringing out the emotions that were trapped in there, and they were trapped because it was burning. It was on fire.
Blocks.
So on fire. So then I do one side, do 10 minutes, do the other side, and then I'm just, you know, like a few seconds left of the 10 minutes, and I'm like, and I look at the clapper, and there's like some stuff on it, and I go like this, and I go like this, and it's like, oh my gosh. It was just weeping. The tears were weeping, and it had just taken the layer of toxic tissues that were holding all of this emotion off, and it was like kind of raw. And I was like, I look at my hands and I go like this, and it's kind of sticky. I go into the mirror and I just like had a meltdown. So I phone up Lori, she's in the house next door. She goes, come and see me. It's okay. And they both see me, and there's another person in the room, and they see me, and it's like, oh, that's not too bad. And I'm like, all right. So anyways, we settled down into this, and she gave me some
She
beautiful-
settled down into
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I settled down and recognized that this was the process. This is what I needed to do. And so it was, you know, and then it was like it went through, but right away, like the very first day when I went back, I didn't go to class because it was later in the day, so I needed to, you know, fly up Tron and just center.
And also,
Because it
we
was
didn't
very
want to
much
scare
like a heart
any of the
release.
students to make them
Yeah.
go.
It was very much like a heart release.
Yeah.
Because it is, you know, we put the best face forward, and I was a master at it, and all of that emotion got trapped in my face. And it does for many of us. Yeah. So I go the next day to class, and right away, Shalou, Simran's mother was there, and a few others, and they said, you know what, Sharon, behind all the redness and what was going on is that you could see the new skin come through, and it was like absolute beautiful. And so I ended up just honoring that, went through the process, and it was like, you know, sometimes silver bullet spray would cool it down because now it was hotter because of all the heat of the emotional release, because now I'm getting circulation to the face that hadn't had circulation to it in many, many years, like forever. But it was just, you know, a matter of sometimes a silver bullet spray would cool it down, sometimes this beautiful magical aloe vera elemistry worked, and then, you know, and so then I just played with it. And it was kind of a funny story because it was quite, you know, it was healing, and when I would go to sleep, it would sometimes wake me up because it would rub on my pillow. And this was when we were having that course in that beautiful house, and all of Sage's products were downstairs, and I went into the mirror and I tried to put C60 on it, but it trapped the heat. And then I tried to put these different things on, and I was like, okay, and then I would have to wash it off because I was
Infinite iodine would have been the key.
Yes, that's right. And
That
I
would
go-
have been the key.
I go down into the room because I couldn't find my silver bullet spray, so it was like that was the last attempt. I go down into this room, and you had that beautiful light that did all the chakras.
Yeah, we have that still.
Yeah, and I was on the fireplace, and I'm down, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to sleep because I'm in the middle of the second course, and it's the non-surgical. And I'm like, where's my silver bullet spray? So I thought, oh, Sage might have some down there. Well, he did. So I'm standing in front of this chakra light, and it's 12:30 at night. Everybody's asleep in the house. It's 12:30 at night, and I'm standing there, and I got the silver bullet spray, and I'm like, okay, if there is a God, he's going to cool this down so I can sleep. And I take this spray, and I'm looking at all these chakra lights. I go, tss, 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 and it's like, yes, and into bed. So I had it beside my pillow, so whenever I would wake up, and the next day, Sage goes, what happens to my silver bullet spray? And I'm like, oh, I'll go get it. Here it is. So anyways, it's about the entrapment of the emotions. I mean, we trap them on so many areas: the heart, the face, the stomach. And when we can walk through on this path and allow ourselves to be patient, that's what it is. And then I allowed myself to be patient with this whole process. I didn't look at it like it was a negative in any way, shape, or form.
Don't run away from pain.
Yeah.
Don't try to push through the pain. Breathe into it and know it's a GPS that wants to guide you. You know, pain is our blessing, and if you know it's a GPS, you'll never be in pain again, and if you do, you'll feel a little bit and you will honor, respect yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? Want to talk about the...
Therapeutic? Yes. So when we were in the master class, Daryl said to me, you need to do therapeutic vomiting. And I said, well, go ahead, like obviously tell me how to do it. And so he says what you need to do, and the reason that I couldn't throw up when I was heaving during the drumming circle is that I didn't have enough water in my stomach, so I would have burnt my esophagus. And so
You
he
want
said,
warm to hot structured water, but
yes,
you go ahead, love.
Exactly. Warm to hot structured water. And so he says what you need to do is you need to go into the bathroom, set yourself up in a really wonderful way, put a stool in front of the toilet, put some soft music on, even maybe do some belly button therapy. Just really get yourself
Calm
into
yourself
this
down.
really wonderful place of peace, yes, and calm, and honor of self. And so, and then he said,
A dim light,
dim light, yeah, yeah.
candlelight would be best.
And tell the neighbors to put on in some earplugs.
If there's, just make sure that your phone is away and it's off.
Yeah, yeah,
Go ahead, I'll fill in the gaps.
yeah. And take about 2 16 to 20 ounce glasses of warm to hot structure, but where it's warm, where you can just drink it, solid, right?
Warm, it's called I love you.
Yeah.
It's being soothing.
Yeah,
And warm water cleans,
yes,
okay? Cold water doesn't. And warm water says I love you, honey.
yeah. And it feels so soothing in the abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had, I think I took about 16 to 20 ounces. I had 2 glasses, set it up on the counter, and then I drank them back, like, fairly quickly, not guzzling it because you don't want to get hiccups, but fairly quickly. So I took the first, and I took the second. And then I took these 3 fingers, and you put them to the back, you hold them on your tongue. and
Wait,
you put
but we
them to
jumped
the back
ahead,
of
though.
the throat. Oh, right, I did jump ahead, yes.
Yeah,
then,
take
massage.
the water in.
Yes,
You're looking at having your abdomen filled up by about 60%, where if you go this, you can feel the sloshing around, but you know that it's fairly full, but there's sloshing. Okay, you can hear it, you can feel it. If you have a hand vibrator, put the vibrator underneath. Put a slight smile on your face, stay connected to the lion heart breath, and breathe in and out. If you start to feel nauseous, just calm down. It's too early. It's too early. Okay, you might just can't stop it. That just means you're ready to blow anyway. But if you feel a little bit nauseous, just calm down. We want it to soak. It'd be really great if we could go in between the 5, even up to a 10-minute mark of that vibrating, massaging, just picturing inside your stomach, everything letting go, all of that congestion. How many people know that 1/16 of an inch is what most people have in the way of mucus, which is like a plastic lining in their abdomen by the time they're 40, and that's why you're kissing your butt goodbye. And if you don't want to do therapeutic vomiting, you're never going to have your digestion back. If you have really bad digestion and you know it's your stomach, you don't have to do therapeutic vomiting. The world doesn't know about therapeutic vomiting. Practitioners don't know about it. But guess what? The stomach is the front door and the rectum is the back door. If we do the ultimate coffee enema in the rectum, if we do, we're cleaning out the colon plus the liver, and if we do therapeutic vomiting, it will heal the small intestine. Did you get that? Stomach, then 22 feet of small intestine, large intestine 5 to 7 feet. We can go in through the back door and we can go in through the front door. You do both ends and you get a happy middle. Like it or lump it, naturopathic, naturopathic practitioners, 99% of them don't know what they're doing. They're too superficial. They don't mean to be. There's nothing wrong with them. It's not because they're not intelligent. It's not taught. So understand that. You know what? If I give you a hammer and tell you to tighten a screw, it could take a while and you might break something. And that's the way we're taught out there. So you want to go in, you can just use your hand like this, okay? All right? Keep a slight smile on. When you start to feel the saliva build up in your mouth, it's not because you're not hungry, it's because something else is happening. Okay, if you don't feel you're ready, calm yourself down. Sharon, you want to add?
Yeah.
Make sure that you have not eaten.
Yes.
And there's no food in there. This has nothing to do with the bulimia. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Bulimic, 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 bulimic. You're going to become bulimic, bulimic, bulimic. You become bulimic because you didn't do therapeutic vomiting. Do you want me to prove it to you? All young girls become bulimic because they don't know how to do therapeutic vomiting, and because of their parents, because of their peers, because of society, they were made to swallow so much SHIT. So they don't know how to get it out. So what they got to do is they got to eat food to suppress it. And because you can't take physical and put it on top of emotional without a volcano. The world's sick. Systems are sick, not teenagers. Systems are sick, not teenagers. Let's make that perfectly clear. Go ahead, Sharon.
Yes. And so I drank the water, and then I actually had this handheld thumper that I ended up putting onto my abdomen. But the emotional component, it was coming out already. Like it took very little time because I'd already gone through this weekend and all the different, the journey that I had been on releasing the emotions, the face and everything else. And so it didn't take long for me. And my Achilles heel is my sigmoid, and so I just put it on the sigmoid and into my abdomen a bit, and it was like, okay. So then my jowls started to water, and you take these 3 fingers, and you press them onto your tongue, and you put them to you're kind of
back as far as
tickling the
you can.
back of your throat.
Right down.
Right down. And you hold them there. The key is to hold them there. Do not, because it's not puking.
It's not puking. Because after you've done that warm water, and you've done 16 to 20 ounces, guess what? I know you're not going to like this, but it's orgasmic. All this crap, you can feel it. The acidity doesn't burn your throat, doesn't burn your chest, doesn't burn your mouth. And when it starts, if you keep your fingers there, it doesn't stop until it gets rid of all of that. Once you're done, guess what? It's very rare that you don't have to go in again with another 16, 20 ounces. I'm going to tell a story. This will trigger stuff in Sharon, and then she can finish it. Do you know how hard it was to build this World Healing and Training Center? I'm not whining. I've had people try to attack me from all levels to try to stop this. Okay? When we went away 4 months ago, so we would have been here a year, just before we left, I do eat right. I do go off course a little bit, but I'm not off course. I'm allowed. I can play. But I do at least 95% everything to the T. And I'm not neurotic about it. I love my life and my body, and I don't want to ruin it. anyways, I'm going to Lori, I'm going, oh my God. I hope you know I have not done therapeutic vomiting. I made up this therapeutic vomiting, and I did it when I was in my later 20s. I had to. Too much was going on. First, my mother got lung and tongue cancer. I could tell you the story, but we'd be here all day. Right after that, first my father got leukemia. Then we got rid of his leukemia. Then he got his leukemia again, because people don't change. First time we got rid of it in 3 weeks. People don't believe that. We have tests to prove it. I still have the tests. Then what happened was, and then it took us, the second time, it took us 8 weeks. Wow, eh? If you know what you're doing, third time he passed away. My mother always told me that she wanted to kill my father. So he passed away and I didn't tell her. So then she comes to me and now she's got lung and tongue cancer. Right? And that's because, guess what? You can't speak like that. I mean, she also smoked 2 packs of McDonald's menthol cigarettes and a half a quart of rye every day. And that wasn't because she was a bad person, because she was suppressing how she was being raised. Her mother died when she was 12. They lived in Newfoundland in a shack, no running water, no running toilet. My grandfather used to take turns raping her and her sister. I didn't know that. I could tell you a story that would make you curdle, and I never ever put the pieces together till later. So please do not judge people. Even going through and getting your groceries. If the person at the teller, okay, taking your money is not treating you right, they're having a bad day. Read their name on their tag and say, Colleen, have a beautiful day, love yourself well, and walk away. Do you understand? Okay, let me get back to the story. Where was I? I was talking. Oh yeah. So anyways, we were here a year. You have no idea what it took to even get this ready for this class. It was horrendous. This was supposed to be done 2.5 months ago. I get here, and only 3 days before the course, nothing's done in here. Nothing. People can only care for you as much as they care for themselves. How are you going to find people out there in the world to care for themselves when they've been taught to tear themselves down? So I can't get angry. I can roar, but then you know what? I had to sit here and babysit this project. So understand, that was just, I'm not talking about that the other day, so let's just go back. So we're ready to go on tour, and I'm going to do 5 back-to-back trainings. So my inside self, higher self, call it whatever you want, says, guess what? You've been swallowing a lot of crap for a year, Daryl. I had not done therapeutic vomiting since I was 27, 28. I started therapeutic vomiting and I did it for 4 hours. I did 9 times what she just talked about. 9. It wouldn't stop. My God, I could have had a heart attack or a stroke just by trying to suppress all that emotional stuff. The acid wouldn't stop. I'm not making this up. And then guess what? About into the 5th therapeutic vomiting, I never get diarrhea. I got diarrhea. So it's like vomit, diarrhea, vomit, diarrhea. And it was like, you want to go and do 5 back-to-back New World Practitioner trainings? We need to lighten your load, baby. And I woke up the next morning and I was just like, oh my God. And you know what? And I'm telling you, I did 9 therapeutic vomitings. When I was like up to the 6th one, I'm going, God, I've got to be the worst patient I've ever had.
That's how you become a great leader. Yeah, so, what?
So anyways, you will do therapeutic vomiting to get rid of everything you had to swallow. And as you learn how to love and care for yourself and bring your vibration up and love them anyway, but you don't take anything personal and you don't need approval to love this person, and you're not going to be a rug, and they're not trying to treat you like a rug because you said, I'm a rug all your life. So yeah, you're going to stir up a little bit of crap when you start loving, honoring, and respecting yourself. And you'll be doing it with your friends and your family, not the new people you meet, because they're going to think that that's the way you always were. But the people that you have the longest and the deepest relationship with are going to be like this. Because you know what? Because you're going to disturb them. It's not because your beliefs are dangerous. It's because they no longer match. And remember something. The brain is not intelligent unless it has intelligent beliefs. And we're not going to get into that. We could be here all day. Is there anything you want to add?
Well, I just wanted to, about the experience and how the entity came out. And so...
guys, and when we say entity, you have to understand something. Have you never said, I'm not myself? You said it when you were drinking alcohol, but guess what? There's times when you go and you didn't drink anything or do any drugs or do anything, and you apologize to somebody because you weren't yourself. So if you want to be a low vibration, you think you're not going to pick up some invisible entity in this universe? Can you stop being narrow-minded and be reminded that you don't know 1/10000000th of what's even going on? I don't. But I want to be open to everything because I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to rise. Go ahead, love.
Yeah, so I put my fingers down my throat, and these three, keeping them there, make sure you keep them there. And I sat down on the stool and I leaned over.
And what should you do if you have long hair?
Tie it back. So get everything out of your face so that then nothing is disturbing you, because you want to really be present in this place. And that's the conscious moment. That's the gift.
And what do you want to do after you're done this? You don't go to your phone, you don't check your phone. You go and you get into a fetal position and you put a smile on your face and you go and have a nap. I don't care if it's in the middle of the day or what time. Yeah, but I don't want to be late for this appointment. Yeah, why don't you just keep disrespecting yourself and see how that works? Why don't you just understand that there's nobody more important or nothing more important than your vibration and your well-being. And you know what, if you want to do something for God Almighty, then why don't you become the gift and love yourself and say, thanks for the body. I will respect it from this moment on, before anyone or anything else, so help me God. Okay, Sharon, you be light.
Yeah, and so anyways, what came out, it was mucus. There was no chunks of anything because my stomach wasn't full of food.
But mine was acid. I'm going to tell you,
Yeah,
I puked up so much acid.
Yeah, mucus and... Yeah, and then, yeah, you just keep them in there.
You leave them there.
Leave them the
you
entire
don't bring them out.
Leave them.
You see how your mind
Yes.
wants to block
Yes.
this? She only repeated that 3 times. Go back.
She never got to that point.
No, she
Yeah.
did. She said, I said it too, when you put your fingers in, they never come out.
So you vomit on your fingers?
Oh,
Well,
yeah. Well,
yes.
right by
Yes.
them.
But you're not, it's mucus. It's layers of this emotional trauma that is impacted within the stomach itself. So
And the
mucus.
and the mucus the mucus was layered in the stomach.
Yeah.
And remember something. Okay. If your body can't get rid of it, it wraps it in mucus. That's called catarrh. Okay? Now, when I was doing all this therapeutic vomiting, it's going to be different because we have different personalities dealing with different issues. All that acid was not hydrochloric acid. It was not digestive juices. This was all acid created by stress. And I'm so good at kind of keeping it down, okay, and moving forward, that it said, your cup is full. We're either going to cause organ damage or you're going to blow like a volcano tonight. And let this go. So both ends fire.
And
But we did mention it. It's crazy, isn't it? But you got to keep them there.
Keep it.
As soon as you start to go, if you keep them there, there is no burning, there's no stress. Is there any pain?
No
You
pain.
could have the worst migraines in the world. You could have arthritic pain throughout your body. You could even have Ready for this? You could have stage 3 or 4 cancer and be in pain. You could have fibromyalgia. You could say, I'm sensitive, and be hurting all over, and do therapeutic vomiting and have peace for the first time in your life.
Absolutely.
And I'm not making this up. And guess how much money we want from you? Nothing. This is about gifting yourself. But did you ever notice, to gift yourself, you got to do something that the herd doesn't do, the majority doesn't do. You have to push through. You ever notice that every time that you want to do something that's amazing, you have to become a braveheart and rescue yourself to be the hero? That's how this works down here. The only hero is going to be you.
Yes.
So the 9 times comes from, like, you take your...
No, the 9 times was because I had so much acid buildup.
No, okay, just let me finish the question.
I know, but I just thought you were
But so you take the fingers out and then drink more water? Or,
yeah.
Okay, that's
but
what I'm
not
asking.
until, you know what you feel? Peace and calm. So I would stop, and then I wouldn't go run to bed or go run and do something. I would just sit with that feeling, and guess what? Okay. Once we broke the dam, because I put a dam there so I could move forward. But once that dam broke, it said, we're going to clear all this out tonight. You're not going to ignore this anymore, Daryl. So it was 9 times that I drank water. I know it sounds crazy, but the next day, yes, I feel like I ran a marathon, but I was like, oh my God, I couldn't have done this back to back, 21-day training, 5 in a row. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it.
And for me, my experience was that there was like, I couldn't even believe the guttural terror that was coming out of me. It was sounds that were absolutely out of this world.
The sounds are going to be what
Yes.
you are releasing. And when she says entity, once that leaves, you don't have to deal with it anymore. Okay? So what people say is, guess what? I've done your trainings 3 times. Why do I have these physical problems going on? I've had the non-surgical. I say, did you do the therapeutic vomiting? Did you do the ultimate coffee enema? Because the liver stores the anger and the hate, okay? And the stomach stores, you make me sick to my stomach.
Is it intuitive how many times you should go? Like, you feel it physically or more intuitively?
You're gonna feel peace. And guess what? We don't need to do it all in one night. It wasn't gonna stop. I mean, I had so much, look at, everything about me is like extreme. You know, can't just go in and do it a couple times. And the reality is that my training can be a curse too, right? My training to stay emotionally calm, to stay connected to my breath. But the reality is trying to pull off what we did. Nobody's ever created a World Healing and Training Center like this before. Nothing like this. Now I'm going to get ready and I'm going to do a world tour, right? We all are.
Yeah.
Our tight group is going on a world tour all around the world for 1 year. When I leave here on February 16th, I live out of two suitcases and I have no home.
Did you buy some shoes?
No, you know what happened? Somebody decided that they were going to take all my shoes. I have no shoes. They're all gone. Somebody took them. They broke into and took my shoes. No, but hold on a second.
But my question
Hold
is...
on a second. Your body's going to decide because your body's much more intelligent than your subconscious is. That's for sure. And the reality is that my body said, no, you're not going to bed. You stay here. I couldn't believe it. I just like, I'm going to tell you something. There was a very slight moment that I thought I was dying because I couldn't believe all the acid coming out. And I thought, geez, what the heck is going on? I've never heard of this before. So that was just very slight. And it's always going to happen because the subconscious lives off fear. Its only job is to protect all your prominent dominant beliefs, even if they're killing you. And understand something. When you go where you've never went before, or do what you've never done before, it's going to try to show its ugly little face and say you're not going. And that's when you got to breathe and go, I got this.
Can you come home at 5 o'clock and say, oh, I'm going to do therapeutic vomiting at 5:30? Or do you need to, like, how does this emotion, do you need to wait for this emotion? Because that emotion might not come up all the time.
I'm going to just tell you my feelings, and then if her
I would
answer is
like to.
different,
Yeah.
it's okay. But my feeling is this. Practice makes perfect. Let's do a wet run.
Haha, wet run.
Okay, but let's do it. You can't hurt yourself with therapeutic vomiting. The rules are easy. Follow the rules.
So while you're actually about to, let's say, go therapeutic vomit or within it, where is your mental state? Where is your emotional? Are you thinking,
Don't think anything. Think I'm at peace. And I'm going to get rid of what no longer serves me. Thank you, God. Whatever your faith is, whatever your belief is, have faith and believe. So believe in yourself and have faith that that which is invisible will help you get rid of the invisible that you don't want anymore.
So going in with the intention, just with the intention.
That's all. And just relax.
And trust in yourself.
Trust in your body, because it talks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening through this process, and is that we get in our way because we go into that fear, which is the subconscious mind, and so we don't trust in ourselves, and that's what the Braveheart Oath is. I honor, respect, protect, trust, and I trust in this. I trust in this. I trust in myself because now I can, for the most part,
before anything,
anything
so
else.
help me God.
Yeah.
So that means no belief systems are going to deviate me from self-care and self-love.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that my family thinks I'm nuts. If you want different, you better do different. And nothing we're going to teach you is dangerous. Guess what? Everybody fears everything they don't understand. And that's why you fear even touching your body or helping someone else out, because medical has made everything into a mystery. And you're just too stupid to look after yourself, aren't you? No, you're not. You're not. You're the blessing that you've been looking for. Anything else?
I want to ask a question.
Lorraine, do you want to come up and be ready? Because
When is the best time to do of the day? Like maybe early morning because it's so empty, no?
No. Remember, your stomach only takes at the maximum 2 hours to empty, even if you did animal products. The reality is you're going to do a therapeutic vomiting when you know you're going to be at peace with yourself. That can be at different times. Wow, I've got kids. The kids are at school. Okay, my husband wouldn't understand this, which he probably wouldn't. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? You're better off to do it yourself, because that's what it's all about. If you want to feed the spirit, do it yourself. Don't ask anybody's approval for something different. You're not going to get it. And it's not dangerous. So once you've done it, then you can talk to your partner, your friends a little bit about it. I wouldn't tell my friends even. You know what? Because they're not your friends. You know what? You hang around with people. They're not going to understand higher vibrational values. Nobody who understands self-care. No, it's healthcare. Who understands self-love? Oh no, we're supposed to always show our love and give it away until we're totally empty. And you're not giving it away because you can't love someone. You do know that, right? Your love just triggers the love they have for themselves, but nobody's taught you that. Because that would be the secret to set everybody free on this planet.
And I wanted to clarify the process. Once you put those 3 fingers in and
2
you
fingers
start,
if you're smaller.
yeah,
3 fingers if you have a big mouth like Sharon.
yes, and when you start throwing up, do you
the whole
release those
fist
fingers
out.
or not?
What?
When you start throwing up, when things
When
start
you
coming
start
out, do you release them or not?
Therapeutic vomiting, not throwing
No.
up. There's two different
Yeah,
words.
Okay.
Then what?
Do you release those fingers or
No,
not?
they
Keep
stay
them
there.
all the time?
And you
Until
keep-
The
when?
entire time.
Until
when?
you're empty of all water.
Okay.
All of it. You know what? Empty it.
Okay.
Don't do it. Your subconscious is going to want you to pull the fingers out. Do you know why? Because that acid that's in here is helping to fuel the negative beliefs up here. The negative beliefs up here created the acid in here. And the negative beliefs here say, look at all the gold we got down here to stop this person from growing and going and letting go. You need to understand your subconscious wants that acid because it doesn't have to work as much. Well, you know what? They might be sick, they might be exhausted, but we're keeping them safe. It's true. You give me any person that has ever had a sickness for more than 9 months, it becomes their best friend. Now you think about that before you open your conversation on this. You find me someone that's been diagnosed with a disease when there isn't any. There's just physical blocks caused from emotional blocks. That's all it is. There are no different diseases. There is dishonoring, disrespecting, being out of alignment. That's it. Out of alignment with your spirit. You came here with that, you're going to leave with that. You better feed that if you want to look after this. That's it.
Well, and then afterwards, I felt kind of chilled. And so then I took a warm shower because that's also a part of the release.
You
the
have to
emotional
chill.
release.
Do you know what the chill is? Shaking off the boogies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I'd like to mention another incident because I ended up doing it 3 days in a row. I didn't do it the way that Daryl did it because
Because she's
everybody's
not
different.
me.
Yeah, because I'm not him. And so I had a discussion with him after, and he said you need to do it again. And so I ended up doing it 3 days in a row. But then I had an incident that happened here just in the summertime that I had broken my ankle when I was 15. There was emotional components associated with that, which were strong for this teenage girl. And then Daryl worked on my ankle.
Oh, no, I didn't work on it. Exercise.
Yeah, he exercised my ankle. And so I had so much calcification within the eye of the ankle. It was bad.
And I went into the eye of the ankle. We
Yeah.
call this the eye of the ankle.
Yeah.
Anybody, if you want to help somebody's ankle, you just go right here and do your non-surgical, and you'll find calcium and crystallization here, and that doesn't allow this movement. And that's why people trip all the time, and they think they're old. There's no old age. I already told you this morning. When I'm 95, I'll have the flexibility I do, and I'll have the balance that I have. So that's all just not true. So this is called the horseshoe. And here's where all the gold lies. You go in here and work on someone's ankle with non-surgical for 20 to 30 minutes. You gave them back their life. You work on their knee for half an hour. I don't care if they're booked for surgery tomorrow. Since you've been with us for how long? How long?
3 years.
3 years. Have you ever heard anybody that was booked for surgery go for knee surgery?
No.
Or hip surgery?
No.
Or spinal surgery?
Nope.
It's a lie.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lie.
It is a lie.
And we're not going to go down that road.
So-
And that doesn't mean your doctor's lying. Your doctor was lied to.
Yeah.
Your doctor's not lying. Do not go after your doctor. Your doctor has the best intentions of the world, but everybody can be programmed. Look what you were programmed to do, to off yourself.
Yeah, so Daryl went in and exercised my ankle, and
Well, no, a non-surgical. I'm just trying to tell you, when I went in there, I didn't do a
It was like-
non-surgical treatment because it was bugging her for a long time. So I just tried to lock in on a higher level and not just go after the physical. Let's go after all the emotion that she buried into that ankle, and let's bring that out there.
And it came to the surface, and the next day I was trying to just to kind of tap it because I was just trying to release.
Can I say one last
some
thing?
of the-
Every
yeah.
time that you feel emotion or stress or pain or hurt or fear and you can't resolve it, You have to bury it in some body part. So every time that she would feel a problem with the ankle or think about why the accident happened with the ankle and not resolve it in a peaceful, loving manner, it builds more emotion up. Did you notice when I work on people, the emotion that comes out of them, guys? Okay.
Yes. So the following day, it had swelled up because now it's healing and all of the emotions and everything. And I was just trying to like encourage it to release some of this, some of this fluid that was moving into that region. And I was just barely tapping it. Every time I just touched it, the tears would come to my eyes. I just barely go like this just to try to release it, and the tears are coming to my eyes. And so it was the whole life coach, and we were dancing around, and I was kind of dancing around. I was like, you know what? I need to do some therapeutic vomiting. So at the back of the room, I drank 2 glasses of warm water. I went into the bathroom, and I just kind of tapped it a bit, and off I went. And it was like the ankle went from this to like,
I hope you're getting this.
yeah.
This here brought the swelling down in her ankle.
Yes, it did.
Are you guys here yet?
Yes, it did.
Are you here?
Yeah.
Okay, guess what? When I say that 95% of the body workers out there, they're not here yet. They're doing the best that they can. But guess what? The emotional rules the physical, the psychological rules the biological. So let's get them working together, because you can't have one without the other.
And the biggest gift that you can give to yourself is to allow yourself to walk through that glass or pain or whatever it is, the GPS and that blockage that you have that's here, and walk through it and trust in the fact that this is the most powerful way to realign ourselves. It is so powerful, and I've had experience after experience after experience, because I haven't been afraid to go there. And as soon as we go into fear, then we stop the process, and then we've got to work through that component and then get back into our God spot, allow ourselves to flow with that most magnetism part of our body, which is our right brain, and get ourselves back present. It's such a fabulous journey, and I cannot stress it enough, that get out of your own way and get out of the
It's
fear.
teamwork, faith, and belief in oneself. Lorraine, we're going to move on. They're going to talk about, right now, vaginal infusion and the ultimate coffee enema. Come on up, Lorraine.
Okay.
And I'm out of here.
Okay, see you later. You can give her your,
Yeah, I will.
yeah. And then are we breaking? When are we breaking?
After that.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll be breaking after they go through these 2 things. We need to get this far, because once we come back, we're here until 6 tonight. Okay?
Is there any questions? Can you grab the mic? Who has the mic, please? Thank you, Raja.
Can you put baking soda or anything in the water to help with
For
the
therapeutic
acid
vomiting?
or whatever? Don't need to?
Yeah. And you know, the amount of mucus that came out of my nose, and there was absolutely not one, there was one little speck of kind of brown in amongst that mucus. There was absolutely nothing in it that was any kind of vomit that you would be familiar with. It was mucus. It came out of my nose, and I held my fingers down there. I bet you it was 10 minutes. And the screams and the guttural like terror and pain, and I was just like, whoa, who is this person? Had no idea that was trapped in there. But it was. Yeah. Trust in it. It's fabulous. There's no burning, nothing, because that's why you drink the water. Yeah.
And you drink 2 to
I
two
drank
16
about
to
2 16-ounce glasses.
And you want to do that like in a hurry?
Yeah, like just a nice pace. Drink it down and then drink it again. So not in a hurry, in your own pace, right?
Okay.
And
But
then
within a certain amount of time.
yeah, exactly. Like just within minutes. You don't want to be like sipping on it, because you want to fill that abdomen and make sure it's swooshing around, like Daryl was saying, so that you want to actually have it where it's mixing with the acids, so that then you don't burn your esophagus. Because if I would have done the therapeutic vomiting when I was heaving in this circle, that I would have burnt my esophagus, so my body knew that I didn't have enough water in me in order to be able to do that. Or I would have probably just done that in that goddess circle.
I wanted to ask, would that help to sort out physical stomach issues as well, like
Yes.
poor digestive, function and...
Because when you think of that layer of mucus that is housing those emotions is doing what within the stomach? It's messing up the ability for the stomach to actually churn properly and to actually have the gastric acids function so that then it can break down and digest. And you know what? Like, how many times are we like, you make me sick to my stomach, or you felt like you got kicked in the stomach? And that's what would happen with me. I know that when my father died, I couldn't breathe because he died so suddenly. I had this lump here for like months. And I actually went through a process that was emotional process, which helped relieve it. But it still entrapped a lot of those emotions associated with everything else, the craziness that was going on in my life and the choices and traumas and many of us have the story. But as far as how it does bring you to a place of peace, it was absolutely amazing. And then I ended up, after I took the warm shower, I ended up resting for about 45 minutes. And it was really peaceful. It was so peaceful, and there wasn't any pain, and it was just like, whoa, that was just like, okay, I need to do this again. Did you have a question, Jason?
Yep, I do. Okay. Two things. One, how do you know when you're done? Like, day after day? If you're going to do it day after day, like, your body's just going to tell you it's done?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And what will happen, and this is what to be very aware of as you're going through the Wolf Non-Surgical and as you're going through this process of taking these courses, and even if you've done one course and you're doing the second, these things will come to the surface. And it may find that you may wake up in the morning and you may feel like really sort of nauseous, or your stomach's bloated, or it starts to descend, or it starts to, to really like start to pucker out. That's when you can say to yourself, well, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to do some therapeutic vomiting because things are going to get stirred up. And then you can then do therapeutic vomiting and release it. And it is so freeing. It really is. And I've talked to many practitioners that have gone through the certification courses and the non-surgical that have done the therapeutic vomiting and have felt like so much at peace. And please, please, dissipate the fact that you're puking, and that this is not about puking. This is about therapeutically vomiting, that you are now honoring and trusting and loving yourself in such a way that you've never done before.
It's personal therapy.
It is.
So the second question is, does Wolf Non-Surgical, does DACA Detox have a support group or something like that as you're going through this, not during the process, but before and after, is there somebody that we can contact to get the support from and let us know you need to do it like Dr. Wolf did with you? You need to do it again tonight.
Well, you have and I hope everybody in here has had their perfect day consultation. And so you have a consultant that's assigned to you. And they will certainly be able to guide you and have that conversation, and then afterwards have a discussion associated with it. But it's a very personal experience. And so you may, if you're still feeling that there's something else, because that's the intuitiveness. That's where you're now finding that place of peace, getting out of the intellectual mind. So you really don't need that person. But if you want to, spin things off, you can certainly have that option to do that. But if you really gather within that, you'll know. And when somebody says it, you're like, yeah, I know, yeah, right? They're just affirming that. And that's where you start working more and more on the trust, right? As you trust in your instincts as far as your own self, then less and less you'll have to have those conversations. But it's always good to have that affirmation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay.
Great.
Hello, beautiful.
Hi.
This woman is an amazing woman, and if you ever have an opportunity, watch your testimonial. I think it's still up on Daryl Wolf's page. They're not too far in the buried from your. Was it your first?
It was after my first
Yeah,
class.
and if you see Lorraine, and I mean even go back on many of these, but But what a transformation. And this woman has, you know, she's a Braveheart goddess. And I love her dearly. We've been through a lot, haven't we?
We have been through a lot. It's been an
Exactly.
amazing journey, and it is only starting.
Yes, yes.
I expect so much more of myself. You watch, I'm going to be able to do headstands and pull-ups, and yeah, I'm getting there.
So what do you want to do first? Vaginal infusion? Well, yeah, vaginal infusions?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Let's talk about vaginal infusions. So pretty much everybody, every woman, and even men can do these. Let's not
Yeah.
leave the men behind.
It'll be rectal.
Exactly. So, what are the reasons we need to be doing that?
Well, the reasons are, well, what has happened is that, first of all, only 1% of the population has a healthy large intestine. And we have so many traumas and dramas that are associated with our most sacred region is our pelvic region. And for a woman, there is, you know, there's inflammation from childbirth, from traumas associated with childbirth, from the fact that not just women, but the fact that we have a large intestine that has been totally abused with toxic mind, toxic emotions, and toxic spiritual. And so it's leaching toxins in through that intestinal wall into our pelvic bowl. And that is now absorbing into all of that most beautiful region, into the bladder, into the ovaries, into the vaginal canal. And it's creating infection. It's infection, which is inflammation, which is acidic. And so that is now creating contraction because now the acidity is on fire. So the inflammation, inflamed, on fire. So now you have not only all the traumas associated with any kind of sexual dysfunction, and it doesn't have to be things as most traumatic as like rape or any of these things.
It could be just perceived.
Yes.
You know, I'm a child and my uncle was too close to me, and that was perceived as a threat, a sexual threat.
Yes.
You know, it just, yeah.
Yes. And in my house, there was Playboy magazines everywhere because I was the youngest of 8 and I had 6 older brothers. So they were everywhere. And so, you know, when you're just like a little kid and you see, you know, in the bathrooms, it's like, you know, what does that vision do to you? And it really distorts, like, wow, like why would they want to be looking at these magazines? And so then it really affects your most innermost piece within that sacred feminine region. And so it starts inflammation because it does start with the emotions.
And we start to feel more like objects rather than a human being with a soul and
Yes.
intuition and feelings.
Yes, absolutely. And so then what ends up taking place is that then you start to have things and those most sacred regions as far as the vaginal canal goes. So then you beat yourself up all over that because you're in a relationship and then you don't really feel like doing it. So then you do it because you know what, you've just got to satisfy him and really remove the fact of what you're doing as far as honoring yourself. And so all of that starts creating inflammation within those connective tissues all the way up to the uterus neck, stomach, and the anus and the urethra and the vaginal opening comes into that hammock, and it's 3 layers thick as far as the muscles within that vaginal hammock that supports everything. And so it starts to become deteriorated. It starts to lose its ability fire. So it's going to then pull because it's acidic, and now you're going to start binding the tissue, binding itself. Then you're going to be bringing lactic and uric acid into the region, and it starts to contract and starts to lose its ability to have pliability. So that now that infusion to bring down that inflammation and start to regenerate those most beautiful tissues so that then they can start having blood flow. Because any time that you have the contraction, that now you are lacking blood, lymph, and oxygen, and so then you don't have blood, and so you don't have circulation, so then it
Become things like endometriosis, ovarian cysts, periods that are painful or very, very heavy or long, or like you said, intercourse hurts. You know, and it could be even higher than that. It could be more than just right here. It just depends on how big of a pile you've got. How much have we pooped in our pelvis. And I remember I had yeast infections, not, well, no, I remember now, but I'm sure I had them at 18. And or I had sex, I would get another yeast infection. I remember talking to the doctor and they said, well, you know, your husband's fingers are going in.
You know, when I look back as far as my journey, is that when I was 12, I ended up, because it was part of the program, as far as denying and honoring his brother's wedding. And I waited because I did not want to disturb the wedding and all the festivities associated with the wedding. So in the corner I went and suffered for 4 days. I didn't go into the hospital until the Monday, so Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday I couldn't even walk, so in I go. And my appendix had ruptured and it was rotting in my stomach. So of course that ended up spewing infection into that pelvic region and of course deteriorated the large intestine. And then I ended up with all of these yeast infections, more antibiotics. And then when I was married and decided to try to have a child, then I ended up having 3 miscarriages because I had had so much trauma to my large intestine that it was leaching all of this putrefaction into the pelvic bowl. So it was leaching into my uterus, so I couldn't sustain, so I had 3 miscarriages. And so if I would have had these tools associated with the Ultimate Coffee Enema, with honoring myself, but also with the vaginal infusions, I could have brought down a lot of that inflammation. Then I ended up with staph infection on my uterus because I was still leaching toxins into my pelvic. So I carry my daughter to full term, then I end up with staph infection in my uterus, more antibiotics, more disruption to the entire large intestine, all of that, and then, you know, then injury to the 3rd lumbar. And so it was all to do with this very basic component, well, of self-love, unconditional self-love, but about understanding that all I needed when I had the appendix attack was a coffee enema, was an enema because it was stuck, because I ate a pile of corn on the cob that night. And so it got stuck. And that's all it was. So look at all of the domino effect of what ends up going on. And when we take product orally, the absorption rate's about 15 to 20%. When we go up the vaginal canal, now we've increased the absorption rate up to 60%. And then if we go in there with a vibrator and start increasing the circulation, now we're bump the ability to infuse those beautiful products into that wonderful region, like to 80%. And the same with the rectal canal.
So even like a gallbladder attack or kidney stones, these things are caused by the same thing. It's the same thing. We got to clean up that pelvic bowl. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We're just getting sicker and sicker. And now I'm having another surgery because I'm not aware that there is an alternative. So doing the vaginal infusion is very simple, very simple.
Yeah.
You want to use the silver bullet gel. You're going to use 1 to 2 ounces of silver bullet gel. You're going to put a teaspoon of Bright Eyes in there, so that's our nanofolic. You're going to put about 2 drops of C60. And then the next ingredient is the frankincense. And with the frankincense, you're going to start with maybe 1 or 2 drops and see how that feels the first time you do it. If you didn't feel a strong tingling, the next time you do it, you're going to add more frankincense and go right up to 10. When I went to Calgary this summer and stayed with my daughter, she had a yeast infection and she knows about this stuff, but she also has 5 kids, 1 baby. And she said, oh, it's just been terrible. And I said, well, why haven't you been doing this? Why have you not been taking care of yourself? And actually, even her diet had kind of sloughed off. So we got her doing the vaginal infusions, and she is very sensitive, so we started with just 1 drop. But she was able to go right up to about 8 drops. And by the time we got that 8th one, I mean, right around even the 3rd one that we did, she had a lot of relief. And she said, "Can I stop now?" I said, "I don't think so. I think you need more. Let's really get this working for you, because it's more than just the yeast infection. It's all the other stuff that's probably happening that you're not aware of, right? The yeast infection is the one that's flagging its head right now, and the one that you're feeling. But what else is going on down there? Let's just address this." So typically, when you start doing them, you want to do about 10 days, and then stop for a couple of weeks, and then do another 10 days, and then stop for a couple of weeks. And if everything is feeling nice and clean down there, maybe you can just start doing it a couple times a week.
Lorraine,
Yes.
please talk about things like this. Aliens are going to come out.
Yeah.
Okay? The sloughing off of old tissue, mutated tissue.
Yeah.
You could drop a fibroid you know that you didn't have come out.
Yeah.
Blood clots, big mucus balls,
Yeah.
parasites. Make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know, the base formula is the silver bullet gel with the frankincense or the frankincense. And I find that you only need 1 or 2 drops of the frankincense, and then you can use, like Lorraine was saying, you know, up to like 10 drops of the frankincense. I mean, if you want to go more, I mean, it's totally up to you, whatever way. And then the nanofolic bright eyes. And then get yourself a really nice launcher. And I really like these lubricant launchers. There's one called the XL lubricant launcher, and that one holds more, you know, more volume. I believe it holds up to like 4 ounces. And then there's a pack of 2, and they're smaller, and they hold about 2 ounces, and they work really well. And when we're doing the pelvic restoration course, we'll show you actually how to, you know, to load it, etc. And so that's the base formula, and then you can start adding some of the other products, like Lorraine was saying, the C60. I mean, you know, you can use either one, and some women are using the MCT in the morning because it gives more energy, and then the hemp C60 in the evening because it's more calming. And I find with the hemp, it thickens up the solution, so it's not so runny, and so you can add that to, you know, to the base recipe, and then you can also add the CBD if you like. And I found that, you know, 3 to 5 drops of the CBD, because it's very highly anti-inflammatory and it's very highly vibrational, and it can go up into that canal and really start healing.
You did mention that you never use the infinite iodine except on its own, and it should go in first.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Read my mind.
And also, we know something. You don't have to use a few drops. You could use a ½ ounce and pour it right into the vaginal canal and put your butt up nice and high. And guess what? It'll disinfect everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
The infinite iodine?
Yeah, the infinite
You do
iodine.
that
So
first?
you do the infinite
You go
iodine.
first, because I'm not on a mic.
Yeah, use the infinite iodine as a separate infusion. Do not mix it with the silver bullet and with the
goes
vaginal.
first.
And it goes first, yes.
And you gotta allow 3 minutes.
Yes.
They say 15 seconds, but allow 3 minutes to enter into the tissue and deep. Can you repeat what I said?
Yes. So the infinite iodine, it doesn't play well with other minerals, so it needs to go into the vaginal canal on its own. And so about 1 mil is the amount, because that is the dosage, which is 150 parts per million.
And it's straight. You can do
Straight.
infinite iodine straight.
Yes.
It is not like Lugos. It's not like Nascent. Those iodines are toxic.
Yes.
You know that. Infinite iodine is the only non-toxic. There's somebody who's really big in the health industry saying that he's got a new way to make it. He's fibbing. We've got the only non-toxic iodine. It's called infinite iodine. It is smaller than nano. It's theta. It goes deep into the cells, and you cannot OD. You cannot take too much. Okay.
And it's beautiful because it infuses. So now you're getting rid of any pathogens up that vaginal canal. So talk about yeast infections and any of those types of things. It's just bam, it's done. And then you would infuse that And Daryl said about 3 minutes, and you know, I mean, you could wait for longer. It works so instantaneously. It's just like when you're spraying it into your mouth. It's like right away.
So if you leave it there for 3 minutes, do you just let it leak out after, before
It gets absorbed.
Ah, okay.
So then you would elevate your bottom.
Okay.
And then, you know, you can leave it for 10, 15 if you like. You know, it's just whatever you want to honor yourself with. And I like to do my vaginal infusions before I go to sleep because I just like to lay there and just have everything happen. And so elevate your bottom, and then you put the infinite iodine in, and then and you know, if it does mix with the silver bullet solution, it's not that it's detrimental in any way, shape, or form. It just denatures the iodine because iodine doesn't play well with other minerals. And so what it does is it denatures it, so it turns it to iodide, which isn't a bad thing. But it's not the effectiveness as far as the bacteria and any kind of pathogens that are up in that vaginal canal region. And so then you would infuse the the silver bullet solution. And that goes in through the lubricant launcher, and then just find something. Originally we were using like just syringes without a needle, but I found them to be okay. But then that rubber stopper gets all messed up, and it's not a nice form, and so it's very easy to bring that into that lubricant launcher and infuse it. And like I said, ideally to get yourself a vaginal vibrator, and if you're infusing, you could use the same solution anally. So you can do, but the wonderful thing about being a woman is that we have 2 gateways to that region. So if you're really inflamed, you know, with IBS and bowel symptoms and vaginal issues, I mean, if it's really going on, then you infuse both regions with the infinite iodine as well as the vaginal infusion recipe. So men, you know what, prostate issues, all of those types of things, irritable bowel, any of those kinds of things, you have pooping in your pelvis, that can all go up anally. It's exactly the same way.
Yeah, even fibroids and cysts, it's going to be taking care of them. Obviously, if we can get in to see a non-surgical, it's going to happen even quicker. But
yeah.
Do you use the silver bullet gel or the
gel
or the solution?
1 to 2 ounces.
Yeah, I mean, the smaller, the one that comes in the 2-pack of those lubricant launchers, they nicely hold about 2 ounces, but I have the pump, and I find that I put about 7 or 8 pumps of the gel in a little shot glass. Then I mix it up with, you know, whatever else I'm putting in there. And you can add, and let me stress this, only a dusting of the black diamond crystals. Because the black diamond crystals, they're called hydrophilic, and so they have an affiliation to the water molecule, and it'll make it quite runny. So I mean, it's not going to harm you in any way, shape, or form. It's going to increase the vibration of what's going on, plus the chelation factor and the infusion of very wonderful micronutrients into the region, but it will just make it more runny. So just a dusting. So if you have the little packs, I find it works really good to keep those packs, and then just sprinkle a little bit from the packs that's left in the little tubes from the black diamond crystals.
The infinite iodine that you put in before, also 1 or 2 ounces, or?
No, 1 mil.
Oh, 1 mil.
1 mil is the dosage.
Okay.
Yes. So then what I've done is I've taken, and it's such a little amount, and you'll think, oh, that's not and you know, more isn't better as far as the infinite iodine because it is so powerful. And it is theta in molecular structure, so it just infuses into those cells, and it's really beautiful.
And of course, you've already used that vibrator in there for about 5 to 10 minutes, so the blood flow is there, so it's going to even quicker. So you're doing that before you do anything.
Yes, and for the man, and if you're also infusing that rectally, get yourself an anal vibrator, because now you've just bumped it up from 60% to 80%. So is there any other questions in regards to that? Because then we can talk a bit about do you want to grab the mic? Ella, can you hand her the mic?
Can you just repeat the ingredient list and the amounts of the bright eyes and the...
So about 1.5 to 2 ounces of the silver bullet gel.
Yeah.
And then I think 10 to 15 drops of the nanophobic bright eyes.
Perfect.
With 1 or 2 drops of the frankincense and start off with 1 drop of the frankincense up to a maximum of 10 drops. If you want to go more, that's totally up to you. And then the options are to add CBD, 3 to 5 drops of the CBD oil, and either the MCT or the hemp C60. And I add, when I'm doing my vaginal infusions, I put about 20 drops of the C60 hemp.
Okay.
And then you could put a dusting of the black diamond crystals in if you so desire.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay? You're welcome.
Sharon, do you mind talking about the CBD bullet vaginally?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the CBD bullet, because I mean, you can purchase those through the channels of Doc of Detox, and those are very powerful as far as bringing down inflammation within the vaginal canal as well as the rectal canal. And infusing that at that level, now you can do the same process. You can put the vaginal vibrator in or the anal vibrator in, and you can start creating more circulation to that region. And I mean, the CBD, the CBD suppositories brings down the inflammation. It helps to heal tissues. It is really a powerful, powerful nutraceutical. And for men, as far as prostate goes, I have had clients that have had, you know, really like second stage, third stage issues, inflammation with the prostate, and they've done it morning and night for like 20 days, and it has brought down, so they're not peeing frequently anymore. They've brought down the inflammation within that prostate like bam. It is so powerful.
So a man could get actually a rectal vibrator, and seriously, you want them to do this if they want to heal. Any part of that, any problems in the pelvic area, even hip problems, okay? Because all hip problems come from the pelvis, except if you're in a car accident or a sports injury, and it could be that caused it too. But understand something. So our CBD bullets are 250 milligram. There's been many studies to show that 250 milligram CBD bullet put in vaginally or rectally will affect brain cancer. So don't underestimate it. All right, you can do CBD bullet up to 3 times a day. If you're in a hurry to heal, this is what you do. Now you can also take what we have a THC CBD bullet, okay? And you would only put that in rectally. You would not put that in vaginally unless you want to get really high. So leave that alone. The vaginal canal, if every man knew what the vaginal canal could do for healing, he would want one, okay? Now, with the CBD THC bullet, you only want to put it inside the rectum. Now, if you take a CBD bullet, not the CBD THC bullet, and you push that into the length of your finger, you get finger cots with your CBD bullets. They come with it. Now, you might want to grab it behind you. You can see the syringe and you can see the blank capsules. But what you do is if you push the CBD bullet, okay, with your pointer finger as high as it can go into the rectum, that CBD will actually go into the liver to help bring down liver inflammation. Okay? If you put a CBD THC bullet just inside the rectum, you're not going to get high. But if you were to put a CBD THC bullet up as high as your finger, you're going to fly high. Okay? So just giving you the rules. Now take a look what Sharon has. Okay, that whole syringe is full of 250 milligram CBD. Now you're going to put that into hot water when you go home. That's going to liquefy it. Then you're going to fill up these little plastic bullets, and then you're going to put it in the fridge. Each time you want to use one, you're going to go, and then you're going to put it wherever you like it. Okay,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes. And you know, that coupled with pelvic, the Wolf non-surgical pelvic clearance for both men and women. I mean, you just now have just bumped everything up to such a degree, and you could turn anything around within that pelvic region. Prostate cancer, pelvic issues, fibroids, bladder infections, cysts.
Oh, just to make this perfectly clear, she didn't say that we could cure cancer. You can turn it around because cancer is inflammation. You can bring down inflammation in the body. So it's not our fault if we teach somebody how to bring inflammation down and they don't have what they call cancer anymore. Thank you. We don't cure cancer because we don't believe in cancer. Cancer is a death sentence and nobody deserves that.
And just think about the fact, because the ovaries are directly connected to the breasts. So if a woman has breast issues, you've got cysts and fibroids and so-called, tumors, because it's just a cyst that now has become a fibroid and now it's become a tumor. So if you start putting in these CBD suppositories up into the vaginal canal, now you're actually infusing that into the ovaries, and now just bam, it's going to hit right into the breast. So turning around these issues.
Yeah, so understand this. When you have breast pain, it's because you've got ovary problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk about the pelvic restoration and disease prevention.
I thought we were going to do enemas.
Well, we are, but we can talk about that before we go into enemas, since we're on the pelvic region. Do you want to, or do you want to go into the enemas?
Doesn't matter. Well, the pelvic restoration.
Yeah. Sure, since we're in that region.
So it's a 3-day course, and there is going to be exercises, some meditations. We'll teach you how to do the vaginal infusion, and
it is the most powerful course that a woman can take as far as honoring your sacred femininity and bringing back all of that wonderful vigor that we so deserve to have. Because even in utero, if your mother was terrorized within her world as far as her feminine sacred energy, that is going to be infused in you. And so that is going to be the program. And so this course will actually go in, and we're going to be doing meditations. We're going to meet, the East and the West are going to join with beautiful Serena and all the teachings that she's traveled the world in regards to. And so to do yin restoration exercises. So we take an energy egg, also known as a yoni egg, and we go in there and we teach us how to have these wonderful ceremonies associated with releasing these traumas, and also to be able to, and it's really from a woman that's 18 to infinity, because how would you like to have a vaginal birth that you're not at the very end of it all, then you're going to get cut with an episiotomy, because it's not a Kegel. This is about going up there and infusing that entire vaginal canal with the vibrancy and the ability, so that then you can deliver a baby within 45 minutes. How would you like to do that? And not have to have more aggressiveness, more scar tissue brought in by cutting yourself and getting an episiotomy. Because the world that we live in talks so much about Kegels. Well, now I don't know what happened to my mic. Now you're just increasing the strength and the tension within that opening. So the baby comes down the canal and now can't get out the opening. So now you got to be cut. And so then there's more scar tissue. So want to reverse bladder infections, painful periods, menopausal issues, issues that are associated with cesareans, hysterectomies, tummy tucks, cysts, fibroids, yeast infections, miscarriages, prolapsing, incontinence. 55% of the women over the age of 50 are suffering from incontinence issues, and they don't want to talk about it. So when they laugh or they sneeze, they leak urine. Sometimes wet themselves. Don't talk about it, because that's just the way it is. And then you have a doctor that wants to go in there and start putting in mesh, because now you have prolapsing. So the uterus or the bowel starts dropping down into the vaginal canal. And so they want to put mesh in there. Well, they're going to attach it to tissue that's inflamed. Now you're going to have a wall that's built up, because there's going to be so much inflammation and so much calcification that's going to be brought in to buffer down the acidity of the inflammation. So now you have another trapdoor. Now you have another blockage. So now that most sacred region that now we want to vibrate all that energy right up into the solar plexus, right up into our beautiful essence of who we are, so that we can connect to our root energy source and really honor, love, trust, respect. So no wonder women are so suppressed and so dishonored within this region that we are, because that's what we've been taught. So let's remove those blockages, let's remove that trauma, and it'll be emotional, it'll be so invigorating, and then you can now have an inner and outer glow coming from that region that you really have become disconnected to. Increase your libido, decrease your painful lovemaking, painful periods, all of that. It's within your reach. It's such a beautiful program. And that live here in Ixtapa is from February 2nd to the 4th. And then we are the Zooms still from the February 10th to the 12th? 2 Zooms. Yeah, February 10th to the 12th and March 10th to the 12th. And anybody that comes in and has a live course, then they will get the Zoom training as a video. So you will have that. And then the women that are doing it via the Zoom, it is as a live Zoom. And like I said, February 10th to the 12th and March 10th to the 12th. 3 days. It'll change your life. It is the most powerful course for a woman to ever take, hands down.
So what if we knew this information and we were able to pass that down to our little girls? Can you see how bright the world would be? You know, like Sharon talked about pregnancy. Like nobody is having a pain-free pregnancy. And that's a shame. Well, maybe it's not a shame. It's just we just don't know. We were always taught that there was pain involved with that. You gotta, there's pain for birth. I remember my mom brushing my hair. There's pain to be beautiful. There was pain everywhere, right? No. We don't want to have that pain. We just got to educate ourselves so we can educate the next generation who will educate the next generation, and pretty soon there will be no pain.
Yeah, it's so true. Is there any questions about the course or anything that we've touched on? Can you? Yeah.
Can you do the vaginal infusions if you're pregnant?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And what we also teach within the pelvic restoration course is to put the vaginal infusion in, and then you can actually put your yoni or your energy egg in too as well, and leave that in overnight. It may give you some sleep disturbances because of the energetic field that's associated with that, but you'll start adjusting to it. So, you will see if you are attending the course, the master class actually, because it's becoming a master of yourself. So as Lorraine was talking about, is that now we can pass this knowledge on to our children and to the next generations, and then you don't have to have this fear of childbirth. You hear so many stories about childbirth, and it's just like, oh my gosh, and you don't even want to tell anybody your story because you don't want to traumatize them, so that then when they go to have a child, then they're sitting there going, oh my God, I just don't want to have this child. It got in there, but it has to come out. And then they decide, oh, well, maybe I'll just get a cesarean because then I'm not going to traumatize that region. And yeah, perfect. That's a great solution. And then just create more blockages.
And then I go back to work right away, and my child is with the nanny who... Okay. And then I go back to work right away, and my child is with a nanny who doesn't have that connection with that child. Maybe it grows after a while, but it's not the same. It's not the same. And I remember when I was having kids, nobody was breastfeeding. I did, but nobody. It wasn't a thing. That was dirty. You just didn't do it.
An inconvenience.
An inconvenience, that's right. It was an inconvenience to have this child.
Yeah, an inconvenience. So I want to get my sleep and, hand over some product that's just going to... Yes, Lucy?
So I know once you put the solution in, you elevate your pelvis and let it be there for at least 15 minutes. But if you wanted to leave it there overnight when you go to the toilet, it comes out, could you... That's fine. You shouldn't put a little natural sponge in there.
15 minutes is the minimum. To let it
But couldn't we use like a natural sponge to keep it there overnight?
There's nothing wrong if you want to put a coat in it.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a friend who she's probably 60 and a very beautiful woman. She has never been married, never had kids. Said that she had been peeing, leaking urine since she was 12 or something. And she said, "Oh no, it's hereditary. My mom has it too. My sister or whatever. Actually, she only has 2 brothers. So her mom and then her mom's mom had it. So it's totally hereditary." She recently just got the mesh put in because she couldn't handle the peeing anymore. And I said, Tam, let me get in there. No, there's not. Now they fixed it. So, is there hope for her? Like, once they put the mesh in there, I think it's.
Well, there always is, because the body is so forgiving. So she would need to continually do the vaginal infusions. I mean, regiments of it, not like every day for the rest of her life or anything like that. And then get non-surgical, because we want to keep the calcification from building up on that mesh and to try to keep as much circulation and the scar tissue down so that then we can keep the vibrancy of the tissues. And so you don't, did it turn it around? Her incontinence?
It did.
Yes.
She is, for the first time, not
Yes.
urinating when she doesn't
But
want
then
to.
it's going to create other issues.
But that's scar tissue now.
Yeah,
Scar tissue is blocking it.
yeah, yeah. So now it's the scar tissue.
Bigger things are coming for her.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just going to be the domino now within that region, right? Then now they're going to be starting to yank stuff out, right? Chop it out. Yeah. And I was doing a lot of reading in regards to the vaginal issues and whatnot. And other issues that are associated with that vaginal region is the fact that we hold our breath, because the diaphragm is the upper part, and then we have this hammock of the 3 layers of the muscles that hold, that the anus and the vagina opening and the urethra opening come through. And so when we hold our breath, and when we have constant fear and anxiety within ourselves, we're pushing down on that hammock, because the diaphragm is pushing down, and it can deteriorate the ability, and it can also affect incontinence issues and bladder issues that way, as well as then you're being inundated with all the infection that's coming in from the large intestine. So, I mean, it's coming from everywhere. And so that's totally epigenetic. Yeah. Do you have a question, Carol?
Yes, I do. But I do have a question, but just based on what you said, has this got any cause for women who have vaginal, drops after having, after giving birth to children? They suffer from vaginal drops where they just literally, it just drops. Is this got to do with...
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. If you had that core strength and the pelvic bowl was intact, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. My first baby was 10.5 and a half. And after I had her, I remember talking to my mom and saying, it doesn't feel the same down there. I think it's come down. And she said, that's impossible. But sex was painful after that, So, yes.
So part of the pelvic prolapse, the prolapsing, is also the vaginal canal can actually start dropping within itself too as well. And so it really is about the circulation and the health of the tissues, because the more inflammation that you have, because if there was a traumatic birth or if there was trauma to the tissues, because the tissues didn't have pliability to begin with, because they were so inflamed and so contracted and so dehydrated, and there was so much scar tissue within that region from the things that we mentioned earlier, as far as the large intestine and spewing of infection and inflammation into that area, that then it already had deterioration within those tissues. And so then when you then introduce a baby coming down that canal, then now you've inflamed it even more. And so then it will start dropping to the floor. And so it's actually dropping as well because it doesn't have tone, it doesn't have pliability, it doesn't have circulation. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And just another question, just want to clarify. Did you say, sure, did you say the infinite iodine was 1 ml and that was separate to the gel?
Yes, it is separate. So you infuse that first, and it handles all the pathogens within that region. So it's super powerful because it's theta in molecular structure. So it will infuse itself within the cells. So it will get rid of any bacteria, any fungus, any of that, and then you put that in first, and then you wait 5 minutes or so, and then now you can infuse the silver bullet vaginal infusion, because the iodine doesn't play with other minerals. So it doesn't harm you. It's just that it's no longer going to be. It's going to denature it from iodine and convert it to iodide.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes. The frankincense and the frankincense, they're the same thing, just one's more strong?
Higher vibration.
Way higher vibration.
Yeah.
The zens is a higher vibe.
Yeah, higher vibration than the frankincense.
So it's actually from the original frankincense tree. And they have tried to move that plant and replant it in other areas, and it just won't grow. So that one is like the sacred area where this plant grows the best to get the highest vibration.
And women have found that they can put a lot of drops of the frankincense in and never have that burning sensation versus the frankincense. But you don't need it. So you just, I think it's not necessary. So you only need a drop or two of the frankincense.
And if you only have frankincense, then you use that. And you can use more of that because it's less vibrational.
Yeah. It will have more of a burn factor. So then that's why we encourage women to start off slow with just one drop, and then see how that works for you, and then you can build it up to 2 drops
and the vibration of that specific product does what for our vaginas? But what is it's like an anti-inflammatory, the frankincense. That's what.
Frankincense is the king of essential oils.
Yeah.
If you have a problem and you don't know what oil to use frankincense because it covers everything. It was one of the gifts given to
the Magi.
Exactly, for a good reason.
And I like to comment to the frequency, because we are frequency beings. And so when we bring up the frequency within tissues, then we're actually bringing up the vibrancy of them. So we're actually healing them through the electromagnetic field. So we're just healing. We're just bumping up the healing factor.
And that's why we talk about the perfect day. If you want to be able to bring your vibration up, you anchor solid on that perfect day. The diet, the nutraceuticals, the exercises, and the brave heart emotional work. And I've seen it time and time and time again, not just in myself, but in others. When you do the work and you incorporate all 4, the vibration goes up. And when the vibration goes up, all that negative stuff goes away and the body changes. It has the ability to heal. I cannot heal if I'm vibrating low.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why the breath work is so important, and that's why the smile is so important. Because as soon as you smile, you're bringing up your frequency. And like Lorraine was saying, it's all about that. And so the breath work, and when we're doing the pelvic restoration course, there's a lot of breath work techniques in it because we want to connect to that vibrational being, and that is how you get in there.
Let me just say something. And the breath is the most potent tool that we have available for our overall healing. And you can go from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state in a matter of just a few breaths when you're doing it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the results people get when they actually come back, and the breath connects body, mind, and spirit. And when you can come back to that, that's where the miracles happen. That's where the beauty happens. That's where life happens. It's the breath of life.
Did you have another?
I did. The Zoom training, February 10th, do I find that on the main website to register and enroll into that course, in that training course?
nwpworldtour.com is where you can register for the courses, for the Zoom courses and for any of the other courses that are on the world tour, as far as the pelvic restoration, the Braveheart healing circles, the Wolf non-surgical. So it's nwpworldtour.com. Okay? Okay. Should we talk about the enema?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the Holy Grail. So Daryl was going through the gut-brain connection and outlining all the issues that happen within the large intestine, which is the Holy Grail. That's our center. I mean, it's our power center as far as health goes. So when you look at the large intestine, you see that there's all these beautiful bulbous structures called hostras. And that's why the large intestine is a muscle. And those hostras do something called hostral churning. When we have such a icky, sticky diet and such a toxic diet, inflammatory, thoughts and inflammatory lifestyle, inflammatory friends, that the large intestine, the wall of the large intestine, starts to get impacted with waste, with fecal matter. And so when it gets impacted, those hostras cannot do the churning because they start to flatten out. They start to become flat. And so then it's not hostral churning. So it's not, because the fluid comes out of the small intestine as a liquid in through the ileocecal valve up into the large intestine. And the intestinal wall is only one cell membrane thick for a reason, because there's still some nutrients in that waste. And then there's liquid. So it needs to absorb the liquid through the walls of the large intestine and absorb any other nutrients that are there. And the hostras churn. So the churning helps pull the liquid out, pull out any other nutrients or minerals, and then start forming the poop. But when we have such an inflammatory lifestyle, both emotionally, physically, and spiritually, then it starts to become impacted. The hostras start flattening out, no longer do the churning, and so therefore you start creating a compost pile within the large intestine, and it starts deteriorating those tight junctions of that single thin layer wall of the large intestine, and then you end up with something called leaky large intestine, which the rest of the world calls it leaky gut, but it's not the gut that's leaking, it's the large intestine. So now you're spewing toxins into the pelvic girdle. You're spewing infection. You're spewing inflammation. And so that is being drawn up into the blood, that now the liver has to filter that infection and do another job, because it's already doing 200 jobs, so let's just give it some more. And then now you've got all of that infection that is now being absorbed into the pelvic girdle, into the hips, into the knees. And so you end up having issues where the cartilage starts to dehydrate because it's so inflamed, and then you end up with bone on bone, and then you end up having somebody tell you that you need a knee replacement or a hip replacement, and then you have cysts and fibroids and infections, bladder infections, incontinence issues, all of these issues that end up coming about, prostate issues. And so the Ultimate Coffee Enema is one of the most powerful tools that you can use in order to buffer that down.
So with the Ultimate Coffee Enema, you're going to start with 2 cups of structured water, and you're going to put anywhere from a tablespoon to 3 tablespoons of the Dr. Detox coffee. You're going to add anywhere from 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of the black gold. And you're going to put that on the stove and bring it to a boil and boil it for 5 minutes. And then you're going to turn it down to a simmer and simmer for 15 minutes. So you're going to boil it for 5, turn it down, and simmer for 15 minutes. Then you're going to take it off the element. There's no way that you can add that into your body. It's way too hot. We got to cool it down. So you're going to take 2 cups of cold structured water and put that in. And then you're going to take it from that, the pot that you used to boil it, and you're going to put it in the enema pot. Before you put it in the enema pot, I want you to make sure the stopper is closed. Otherwise, it's going to pour out the other end.
And you need to strain it.
And that's what I was going to say. As you're pouring it in, it's going through a strainer. I had a lady who did not do that. and the story she told me was hilarious. She was laughing about it too, but she was yanking the hose, the bucket fell, and she had some in her. She got up, and of course now she's bending over and it's shooting all over the place, right? Just a visual. And this is a lady who's in her 70s. It's just, okay, let's just have fun with this, right? Okay, so you cool it down, and now if you're going to add something, you can add your tummy love, and that could be just a teaspoon or up to a tablespoon. Or you can bump it up a notch and actually put in your black diamond. I would just put 1/8 of a teaspoon. You could like your 1 package or that little teaspoon that comes with the 2 ounce, or you could put 2. Maybe I feel like I've got something going on there, and I want a little bit more, getting rid of viruses, bad bacteria, fungus. I had something that made me feel that I needed to be putting more in. I always do, I don't know about you, Sharon, but I do the sway test. Before I add something in there, I'm going to ask, is 1 enough? And for me, a sway forward is yes, a sway back is no. So I'm constantly referring back to my body to find out how much do I need today, because it changes. So you're going to add that in, and then after you've cooled it down enough, you're ready to go. So you're going to go into the bathroom. I like to when I was at home, I would do it right in the bathtub, because if I have a bit of an accident, I don't have to worry too much about it. I would put, here in Mexico, there's no bathtubs, there's only showers, so I'll go into the shower. I will put my old yoga mat down so I'm comfortable, and I'm going to strip down to nothing. I'm going to have no clothes on, because if I have to bend over and stuff starts flying everywhere, I want to be able to just hose off, right? So, and then you want to make sure that you lubricate the end. The bucket comes with 3 different ends. Personally, I like the little rubbery one, but other people, just play with it, see which one you like. I like the little rubbery one. So you lubricate the end, otherwise you're not going to be able to get it in. So lubricated, I use coconut oil, and then I'm going to insert it. After I insert it, before we even get to that, you got to make sure that your bucket is high enough that you're going to get some flow. So when I'm here, in my shower, I just rest the bucket, the handle of the bucket, on one of the cold or hot faucet.
And you need to siphon some of the through the hose itself, so you don't have water bubbles. So you need to open it up and let any air that's in the hose. Yeah. So then you do that, and I find that I also put a little bit of lubricant right on my buttocks too as well, just to help have it insert easier.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so making sure the hose is full up to the clicker, the stop the flow clicker. And then after you've inserted it, that's where you can start letting some out. Now, by this time, I am on my left side.
Start on the left. Always start on the left, because when you look at the large intestine, you have the descending colon, the transverse colon, and then the ascending colon. So you want to start on your left so that it comes up the descending colon, and then you're going to roll over onto your back so it comes across the transverse, and then you're going to roll over onto the right. So you're going to put a third in while you're on the left, a third in while you're on your back, and a third in while you're on the right side, because you want it to flow all the way through the entire large intestine.
And after you've put that first third in, and I'm still on my left, I can be doing some jiggling. And just, the jiggling is going to let me know how far it's gone up. And then when I'll go down onto my back, I'm going to do some more jiggling. I want it to start moving. And then when I go on my right, I'm going to get right to that ileocecal valve, right between the large and small intestine, and do some pretty good jiggling. Most of the time, that little valve is flapped open. So the jiggling and getting the coffee enema down that far is going to help to make it so it's going to open and close like it should.
Yeah, and something to note in regards to children and anybody, when you have an appendix attack, when you see where the appendix is, it's right below where the ileocecal valve is. And that's where things get really compacted. That's why an enema is so important when you have an appendix attack. And yeah, it's on the cecum side. Yes, absolutely. And it gets trapped because that door, that flap, that ileocecal valve will get jammed open, and it'll create a myriad of issues in regards to gas off and everything else that goes on. But it's so important that we work these regions so that then we can encourage the entrapment of any of the fecal matter. And this takes time because, Sage tells the story of a 90-year-old man that was a World War II vet that came to him for abdominal treatments, and he couldn't get on the floor. He had really bad impaction issues. He couldn't go to the bathroom very well at all. And so Sage was working on him abdominally, and he wanted him to do coffee enemas, but he couldn't get on the floor, so he was going for colonics. And in the colonics world, a lot of times the tube's cleared, you can see what's coming out. And he recognized these little seeds from a plant, from a fruit that he ate in World War II. So it had been in there for decades, and it had impacted itself onto the wall. So when you're looking at those hostras, well, no wonder they're not churning, and no wonder the large intestine's not functioning properly, because the large intestine is the core strength. So when your abdomen's on the floor, your core's on the floor, and that transverse colon is dropped. And when you get up in the middle of the night and go urinate and feel like you never have quite emptied your bladder, it's because that transverse colon is so impacted with fecal matter, so much waste, that it's laying on the bladder when you lay down. So you lay down and you go, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, and then you go pee, and then you come back and you're like, oh, I got to go again, because it keeps resting on the bladder. So we, not only does the Ultimate Coffee Enema start picking away at the fecal matter that's welded itself onto the inside of the large intestine, it's also encouraging the liver to pump its toxic load. And talk about the release of anger, because the liver stores anger. So if you've had issues, even now, if something comes up and there's some anger that, because there's still things that will try to come in, I'll go do a coffee enema, and it's like, okay, done. It's not coming in. But, these are such powerful tools that we can use. And the reason we call it the Ultimate Coffee Enema is because we do have these products in it, like the Black Gold and the Tummy Love and the Black Diamond. Because what you want to do is you're churning up this toxic waste. You're encouraging the liver to pump its toxic load. Now, you do not want that to leach back through that leaky large intestine, through the walls of the intestine, back into the bloodstream and back into the pelvic girdle. So the toxins then piggyback on to the black gold and the tummy love. It pulls it out, encourages it to draw it out of the rectal canal. And then the black gold encourages the proliferation of mother's bacteria. So you have all of this wonderful, so that's why water enemas don't work that well. And that's why regular enemas don't work that way. That's why we call it the ultimate coffee enema, because you do not want that toxic load to go back into the pelvic girdle, because that's the issue to begin with.
So I had been working with a naturopath, and I started doing coffee enemas probably about 7 years ago. And it was just using the Wilson's coffee enema coffee. And when I first started doing it with this naturopath, he had me doing it twice in the morning, twice at night. And I thought I was getting great success. Cleaning out the large intestine and supporting the liver. But it wasn't until I started doing the ultimate coffee enema that I noticed, when I first started doing that, I noticed these gray rocks coming out. And I thought, where were they? I thought I cleaned this out years ago. Obviously, there's a big difference between doing a coffee enema and the ultimate coffee enema. So let's bump it up a notch and get doing what is going to do a thorough job.
And it's consistency. That's what's key. And then if you've been inundated with antibiotics, which is what I had, and then there's all this little pitting that's gone on within the intestinal wall. And that whenever you take antibiotics, it changes the bacteria into fungus. So then you have the drill bit predators, which is what I was inundated with because of life-threatening infections and then yeast infections and all that. Many of us have been inundated with antibiotics. So then it takes time. And even now, 3 years into this, and I've really been diligently doing my coffee enemas, 10 days on, 10 days off, really just deciding that, okay, I am going to, because I believe that my sigmoid looked like one of those pictures because it was really messed up. And so I'm now getting some of the scar tissue out of the large intestine, because that scar tissue it's really fibrous tissue, and so it takes time. And then, when we talk to different individuals as far as parasites and worms and all those, they embed themselves really deep within that impacted fecal matter that's welded itself onto the inside of the large intestine wall. So you've got to pick away at it. So it's about patience, it's about love, it's about, having fun with it. And when you're getting ready to do an enema, the parasympathetic state, do the belly button therapy, put some music on, make it as comfortable as you can, like Lorraine was saying with the yoga mat. I put a towel under my head. And you know what? And be prepared that the first few times are going to be, maybe a little rough, a little exciting. At first it was like, I am so tired of looking at poop. It was just like cleaning it up, But it's okay, because it's the process. But I'll tell you, you feel so much better. And then you know what? I don't do crunches or anything, but my abdominal muscles they're coming more to the surface just from doing the enemas, because I'm increasing the tone of that large intestine. So I don't need to do crunches.
There you go. No more crunches. No more crunches.
No more crunches.
Had a thought, and there it was, gone. Thoughts are slippery. We got to catch them fast.
Well, and then, okay, I'll give a thought.
Okay.
So if you ever have an opportunity, go onto YouTube and look up adhesions, and then it'll really give you an idea when you go into the Wolf Non-Surgical, when we're talking about adhesions. Because I had my appendix out, many of us have had surgeries, cesareans, tummy tucks, whatever it happens to be. Anytime you puncture into the abdominal wall, anytime you puncture into the body, period, you're creating scar tissue. And that scar tissue will create a wall of blockage. But not only does it do that, is it has adhesions that start to grow off of it, like the tentacles of a grapevine. Now, when you go into YouTube, it doesn't actually show because you have to register in order to actually see the actual pictures, but it'll show you how no longer your small intestine is slippery, and it needs to slide away, just like thoughts do. And so those adhesions start attaching itself. So I had an adhesion that came from my appendix scar, and it had attached itself to the bottom of my sternum. Then it had grown over here and had attached itself to the inside of my rib. And when this opened up, I had a popping that went on over here. And it took about 2 days, and then I felt the pain. It felt like, but that would have eventually dehydrated and contracted till one day I would just turn and it would crack my rib. And they would say, well, you know what, you've got your bones are thinning and you're getting older, and so now you need to take blood-borne calcium issues. So when you're doing the Ultimate Coffee Enema coupled with the Wolf Non-Surgical, now you have an opportunity to revitalize all of that region and to get rid of that impaction and to start opening up the adhesions. And it really is eye-opening when you go into YouTube and take a look at that and realize what exactly is going on there.
So after you insert all of the coffee, you want to hold it for about 12 minutes. There's really no need to be holding it much longer than that. I remember I was working for a holistic orthodontist, and he was boasting one day that he does a coffee enema every single day, and he feels great. And he was telling me that he actually went to Walmart with the coffee in and got home. And I thought, wow. Just saying, champion, I don't know. Champion, I'm not sure.
Tito, do you have a question?
Yeah, basically it's a question, it's a two-part question. We get it a lot from Bravehearts online when we're doing the one-a-days. And they ask if you recommend, if you're doing a advanced water fast, do you recommend doing a coffee enema? Or if you're just gonna do a coffee enema, do you recommend fasting? Before or after?
When you're doing a water fast, you need to be doing a coffee enema absolutely every day. Because when you're doing a water fast, there's a lot of detoxing happening. And if it's not getting out, you're going to have problems. Yeah.
So important because you don't want things to shut down. You want the digestive system to shut down, but you want the elimination process to keep going. It's really, really important. And in regards to the Ultimate Coffee Enema, is that, you know, there's a juggling match here that goes on, because most people, when I'm doing a consultation, the top two goals is to increase energy and reduce pain. And so, you know, the Ultimate Coffee Enema can increase energy, but it can also be a bit depleting for energy. So it's a juggling match as to how often you do them. But the key is that this chiropractor that was so proud of the fact that he could go to Walmart with the is that, you know, he's really created a sluggish colon, because his colon is dependent on the coffee enema. So we do not want that to happen. So we want to do approximately 10 days on, and then take a 5 or 6 day break, and then 10 days off. So 10 days on, 10. Depends on your particular situation. Some individuals who are really struggling may need to do it twice a day for a period of time, and then take a break. But we do not want to create a sluggish colon, so we do not want to become dependent on it. And then it's a matter of just trying to determine, as far as your energy goes, is that if you're feeling really, really low on energy, you may not want to do a coffee enema, but the coffee enema can give you energy. So it's about listening to your body, about honoring and trusting yourself, and getting connected to that intuition.
When we do the coffee enema, I realized the first few days is a lot of things come out, and then towards the end of the 10 days, it's like cleaner. Is it still doing good things for it?
Yeah. Well, just because you're doing the coffee enema, it's helping out the liver with its detoxification process, right? So, yes.
And speaking of the liver, you can also get yourself like a thumper or a handheld vibrator. And Lorraine was mentioning while you have the coffee, in that the last 3 to 5 minutes you could take a vibrator and you can encourage the liver to pump its toxic load by putting it right on the hepatic flexure, right where the liver, the gallbladder are, and vibrate for the last 3 to 5 minutes of the coffee enema, and that will encourage the liver to pump. Yeah.
Do you recommend starting on the left side, then do a few minutes on your back, and then going on the right whilst massaging your stomach?
I would just lay on your back. Once the enema is in, yes, just lay on your back. And my personal preference is I like it to be a little bit warmer than just my body temperature, because I like to feel it come in, and I can actually feel it, because that's how I know that my sigmoid's really suffering, because it's like, oh, that feels like so good in that sigmoid region.
I've been doing not the ultimate, but coffee enemas for a couple of years, and I was told that the limit is you want to hold it up to 15 minutes, because every 3 minutes the blood circulates throughout your body into your liver. So if you can do it to 15 minutes, you're producing glutathione, and it takes 3 minutes. So you do the math. That's 5 times that your blood would be circulating. So if you do it for 12 minutes, that's 4 times your blood would be circulating throughout your liver, producing the glutathione.
Yeah. And it's really about 15 minutes in total. And as you're doing it, get connected to your breath. Really, the 6 seconds in, hold, 7 seconds out, because we really want to stimulate that parasympathetic system. So then if we can do the belly button before and while we are lying there, just really, have the light dim, don't have something shining in your eyes, and just really keep connected to that breath. And then honor it. And if you can only hold it for 5 minutes, then you can only hold it for 5 minutes. This isn't a test. And this isn't about perfectionism.
Do you have any tips, like how you know it's 1/3 of the water that has gone up the descending colon? How do you know when to turn without having to get up to check on the bucket to see how much water?
No, you're not going to check on the bucket. No. All I do is I jiggle. I can hear the water. I can hear it gurgling. And when I can hear that, then I know I've got it to where I want it to go. And then I'll put some more in, and then I'll do some more jiggling. And when I hear it, because you'll hear it and you'll feel it. And when Sharon said she likes the coffee just a little bit hotter, I have found that when I use coffee that's just slightly hotter, I can hold it better.
And then as you're putting it in, then I just take the hose like you do a garden hose and just keep crimping it. So put a little bit in and then open it up, a little bit in. And, it takes a little bit of practice. And I actually have a wire coat hanger that's hanging off of my shower head, because my shower is really big here in Mexico. And so then I hang it off of that. And you can get a pretty good sense when you've got about 1/3 in, when you need to roll over. I mean, it's all about approximation. But, I've taken the bucket to try to, take it off of, and to kind of check it, and I've poured it on my face. I mean, it's all, oh yeah, I had it all over my body. The hose comes out, it's like, Anyways, it takes a bit of coordination and patience, right? And if you want to, if you're finding difficulty initially with the coffee, you may start off with a warm water enema just to kind of get yourself used to it. And some people will actually use like salt, like Redmond salt or something in it, to kind of, initially introduce yourself to it. But this is such an ultimate part of our body, that this is where you're going to like change your life. You really are. And it's such a powerful protocol to introduce into your daily regime and into your health regime. Do you have a question, Lucy?
How do you know if you should have the 5 days break in between, or say 8 or 10? How do you gauge that?
it's just listening to yourself. But what I want to do is make sure that people have a break. I've done consultations on clients that have done a coffee enema every day for 2 years. And I'm like, yeah.
Now we've got to backpedal.
Yeah.
Backpedal.
You need to go in there and do a lot of wolf non-surgical, and you need to stimulate, and yeah, now you got to backpedal. Yeah, you got to, you got an issue there.
What
You
would
got a
that-
lazy large intestine.
Yeah.
Right, so it's
Doesn't
not
know what to
working
do.
now.
Yeah,
It
that's
says,
right.
Sorry, I'm just going to be here limp because that's what I've done for the last 2 years.
Yeah. So it's not, it's just kind of hanging out there, right? So it gets, because you're not going to be hostile churning, especially that last portion of it, and it's just going to be just like Lorraine says, lazy, and it's just going to be lethargic, and maybe you can't even, so your body's just going to say, hey, I'm just going to hold on to this until I get intervention, because that's the pattern.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything.
Our muscles have memory. Our muscles have memory. And if we aren't using it, you lose it. And that's for everything. Absolutely everything.
So you talk about the colon, the large intestine, whether it's in good condition because it's a muscle that we need to exercise. So is that the best way to exercise it, on and off coffee enemas? That's what stimulates it.
Well, what you're doing is that you're trying to get the tone back. You're trying to get the actual, so with the wolf non-surgical, because it's actually just atrophied,
Yeah.
because it's so impacted.
Yeah.
So when the impaction goes away, then now you can start stimulating it through even using your belly button therapy tool. You can actually start stimulating it. If there's areas that are tender, then you've got blockages. So you can actually encourage it yourself through the belly button therapy tool and go into the various regions of the large intestine to help encourage that compaction from picking it away. And you may do an enema, and you may have it where, that you were having some bowel movements. Maybe they weren't all, 6 to 8 inches long, because that's the goal, is we want to have a healthy bowel movement. A healthy large intestine, I shall say, is where you have 2 to 3 bowel movements a day that are 6 to 8 inches long, that are, when you do the OK sign, that are that big around, that float, that you could paddle down the river. Now, who has that? 1% of the population? Maybe. And so what you want to do is that you've got to get the atrophying of the hostile turning of the actual large intestine. So pick away that fecal matter that's stuck on there, and then you may end up having that. It's just like Daryl talks about. There's the logs, and then you may break a log away, and now it dams the river. So you may find that that you've maybe broken a piece away, that now it's plugged things up, that you may need to go in there and do another enema to help dislodge that log that's blocking the flow. Yeah. So you'll get back your tone by, the non-surgical, even working on it yourself with the belly button therapy as you're moving through this process. But be patient. That's the key.
And with the belly button therapy, if I'm doing it and I notice, I'm angling it down to my right hip towards the ileocecal valve, and I feel a tug or something on the other side, I'm going to stop right then. And I'm going to go over to that other side. It's not my belly button I'm working on. It's my large intestine. Or maybe it's attached to the lower part of my heart. These tentacles that come off the scar tissue can go anywhere. It's kind of like an octopus. And if you're not taking care of it, if you're not being aware of what's happening here, you could do your belly button therapy, and that's going to help put the body into the parasympathetic nervous system. But why don't we take it one step further and really start addressing where we're getting cots, dams,
Yes.
dams.
Yeah. Damn those dams. And the adhesions can be created also from just having, the icky, sticky diet. It's not necessarily that we have a bunch of scars in our body. So those adhesions are, and they really, I've gone in and done, and Lorraine can attest to it as well, abdominal treatments on individuals, and it's just it's like hard as a rock. And it's like, how does anything? So then that's why Daryl talks about the computer printout, because it tells you the story. And that's where we need to start teaching our children and our grandchildren. I was just talking to her about it last night. How's your poop? Well, I haven't looked at it for a couple of days, Grammy. I'm like, well, give me a report when I talk to you the next time. Because that's what you do, is like you start teaching them so that then, because that's such an important part of your body. Now, how many so-called, well, physicians and surgeons do you go to? Do they ever ask you how your bowel movements are? You know, I ended up doing a consultation with a woman that was a naturopath doctor, and she was, you know, in Australia, and, you know, she was hesitant about a lot of things, but she bought into the coffee enema, and she was like, whoa. She said in the 7 years of schooling that she did, not once, and that was a naturopath, did they ever discuss enemas and the bowels. Not once. There was no training on that. There we go. Is there any other questions? And we'll break for lunch. Okay, do you want to say anything else?
All right. Oh, can you repeat quickly, or not so quickly because it was too quick, I missed it all the first time. The ingredients for making the coffee enema, I got 2 cups structured water, 1 tablespoon to 3 tablespoons of the detox coffee, and then 1 teaspoon of the black gold.
And then you add... Yeah, so that's what you're boiling. You're bringing that to a boil for 5 minutes, and then you're simmering it for 15. So the coffee and the black gold. Then now you're straining that, putting that into your enema bucket, and then you're adding 2 cups of cool or cold structured water. It's more like cool here, not even cool, because but anyways, yeah. Then you're adding the structured water, and then the tummy love, like a teaspoon of the tummy love, and then you can alternatively add the black diamond crystals, or you could have both, and then just really bump things up. Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, you want to say anything? Okay.
I remember.
What time is it?
That's probably past
Does
time.
anybody know what time it is? What time
Okay,
is it?
maybe we should go for lunch.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
Starving.
Really? Wow.